first shows weren't like as good as I was expecting.
I don't know, they look a little bit better.
My man was pretty big gonna go with Stephon.
I know she did.
Yeah. But that's how I don't care. I'm glad they broke.
I'm actually had a baby by now. They gonna cook.
Yeah, like she moved too fast. How you mad to see? How you mad because the other baby mama showed up?
Hey,
And
you
she
know
moved
you getting into
Wait
it.
a minute. He looked a little fruity though. I'm not gonna lie. He looked good, but like I was like, when he imagines the most looking fruity.
I got no words for
All right, so on Canvas, exam one is now available. And for some reason I couldn't access Canvas over the weekend, so I wasn't able to do it.
Give me like a
But, yeah. So exam one is now available. It's due tomorrow at midnight. Right, first exam is due tomorrow at midnight. 10 questions, open-ended, kind of more of your personal experiences related to the content that we're going to talk about. The first 4 chapters of the slides are in files in Canvas. Go on there, you see lecture slide folder. There should be 4 slides for your reference. Quiz is worth 25 points and 2.5 points each question. All right, continuing along, now we are talking about states of consciousness. Here we kind of want to understand to the best of our ability what is consciousness. Right? No one fully has a grasp on how to define consciousness. We have to know some hypotheses, theories, and schools of thought on what consciousness is. But we do know that there's potentially multiple states of consciousness. Right? And a lot of it's related to maybe sleep. Sleep is important because although you're only paying attention to certain things at once in your life, your body and your mind is taking in all information from your environment. Right? So even though you feel that none of this extra stuff is relevant to you, once you sleep, your brain starts to process what was relevant. Hence why your dreams may have certain things in them that seem weird to you. But what is that about my dream? Why am I thinking about that in my dream? Right? Once again, we're information processing things. Right? Combating against unconscious, automatic things and conscious, whatever base things. So we'll talk about the different stages or cycles of sleep, how they're all kind of related to brainwave patterns, energy. We'll talk about maybe different versions or classifications on behaviors of sleep, right? Insomniacs, sleepwalkers, sleep talkers, all sorts of different sleeping behaviors of sleep. All right, now we say, hey, we don't have a true consensus on consciousness, right? But we have kind of our best understandings. And so the textbooks kind of says that consciousness is sensations and perceptions of external events and self-awareness. So consciousness would be an integration of your own self-awareness, but consciousness is also part of external events happening. Right? Constantly, the integration of both. Right? And it kind of creates mental events of thoughts, memories, feelings about your experiences in yourself. So here we're just trying to create representations, mental representations, because like there's a lot of stuff that happens every day in life that have symbolic meaning. Like you may not pick it up immediately, but maybe when you dream and start processing your experience, something new is discovered there. Right? And you're like, aha, moment, right? And that all correlates to maybe how you think about something, and inevitably how you will feel about something. All right, so we say now we're in waking consciousness, right? In this class, when you are awake. And we would say, what is distinct from maybe other forms of consciousness? Well, we could use EEG, electroencephalograph. We could put these contraptions on your head, and we could study brain waves. We say, are the waves high and fast? A lot of mental activity, electrical activity. Are your brain waves middle growth? Are your brain waves slow and not amplified? Right? We never say your brain dead, we say flat. Right? Brain dead is like, you go to a hospital and you look at the brain scanners and go flat on the person's brain. There's no waves. No waves in our patterns of waves. So they all kind of have distinct groupings, right? Which we'll talk about different stages of consciousness. And they're very, very, very interesting. All right, altered states of consciousness. Its changes occur in quality and pattern of mental activity different from waking consciousness. So we say anything that is not waking consciousness, which is you right now here in this room, paying attention, aware of your environment, right? Moving around if you need to, will be considered altered states of consciousness. So we take that approach, we're like, maybe we can understand a little bit, understand people better, because we're like, okay, these levels can be influenced. Can they be influenced by food? Sure. Can states of consciousness be influenced by drugs, chemicals? Sure. Right? Because we say you're combating against wakefulness and external events versus unconscious content. Right? They're like somebody could be delusional or psychotic. Like, what's their state of mind? Really, what's their state of consciousness? Right? Even though their eyes are open, what's going on in the brain in terms of the patterns and waves? Something different. Right? It's like, even person high on something, police pulls up and shines a flashlight. You see the dilated people, but then you also see weird behavior. You're like, wait, they're not even responding to movement. See how they respond. Just get they're like looking straight ahead and just like stuck in some sort of mindset. All right, sleep is important. Who here suffers from any kind of sleep issue? How would you describe your issue?
Even with the migraine, it's hard to sleep. And it's
What do you think that is influenced by?
stress, like that stress is, and not taking care of eating at bad hours.
Okay. Yeah, so we say, hey, you know what? I can't get proper sleep. Why? Stress. And what's stress? Anticipation of future events. I don't know what happened. Maybe I think they're going to happen bad. And I'm trying to anticipate. That's constant. Keep constant doing that. Shooting off hormones that probably shouldn't be shot off that much, that often, for that long. Feel like that can impact states of consciousness. Your ability to get sleep. Sleep is important to process memories, thoughts, feelings, and cells, right? Someone else had their hand up. What kind of sleep? How would you describe it?
I have a huge problem with not going to sleep until 10:30 o'clock in the morning and still waking up at 9 a.m.
When you wake up, how do you feel? That you need more sleep or you're fine?
I just get out of bed.
Okay. You stay up late. What do you think the reason is?
I feel like because since I'm a college student, I have more like, because in the morning it's just like, I just don't really feel like nothing when I get out, like, I want to. But at nighttime, I just feel like I gotta go to gym, I gotta do this, I gotta do that.
Okay. They're like, hey, you know what? I want to kick it, procrastinate, and enjoy myself as much as possible before I get to that serious school stuff that got me turned in, right? Like, most important is like enjoy myself. Least important is like I do this school. Anyone else? Yeah, they could be learned behavior, right? We could have either observed them, could be partially genetic in some ways, right? I mean, we have to follow it, because we can change our environment, we can change it. But I would say if it's impacting you, try to find out a system on how to change it, right? Remember, hey, in psychology, what we call maladaptive. Like if something, you were ever being clinically diagnosed with something, it has to be maladaptive. That simply means, does it impact life, major life events? Can you go to work? You still go to school and learn? Do you have decent relationships with people, family, whatever? Right? So we all have issues, probably with sleeping. We may not have a clinical issue, right? It has to meet all sorts of criteria. That means that there are things that probably we can do quickly to change our sleep behaviors. You know, kind of what we describe as sleep hygiene, right? It's kind of like the maintenance of your sleep patterns, like having a system. Anyone here has a system before they go to sleep to make yourself prepare for sleep? A system. What do you have? Hot or cold? Hot. Which is good. Yeah, hot is good, right? Hot, your body's 98.6 degrees. Anything hotter than that, your body has to cool down. If it works, it expends energy. Get rid of anything that's hot. Right? Okay, now, maybe not so good is the computer light. Right? We'll kind of see more about that later in the chapter, but your brain has a sensor in it, right? That picks up light in the environment. So if it picks up light, no matter what you're thinking, it's going to say the sun is out. And it's going to keep you awake. So if you have that always on feature on your phone, and your phone's not face down, it's like your body is getting that information, right? You may think that it don't impact you, but it does. So like light is a big one, right? Because our circadian rhythm goes off the sun and the moon cycles, right? So like we're wired to say, when is the sun out? When is it dark? So anything light might be perceived by the brain as, oh, the sun is still out, stay awake for our survival. Right? Someone else had a like. Yes. Got like big paper or something like that? And that's good. Yeah. Now TV, once again. Well, think about this. Once again, you're picking up information. So sometimes I fall asleep with the TV on, some random podcast or YouTube or something. And my brain is processing, even on sleep, processing what's been said on TV during sleep. So it's impacting and getting wired up with all the stuff that I experienced when day. Like, that's not good. But that's the relevant stuff on the TV, right? What happened today in your real world experience is you need to make sense of this, right? So yeah, even TV, not that good. Try maybe an hour before, right? No more than anything less than an hour. Someone, your routine?
I used to have mine consisted of like a cold shower and cold shower meditation.
Okay, cold shower and meditation. Some people say the cold shower works as well too because your body also has to expend energy to warm back up. So it'll make you tired after, that shock. Well, one's preferably is probably a hot shower because that cold shower shocks, and that shock is stimulating. Like, oh goodness, right? And anything that excites, your brain is like, we need to stay awake a little bit longer, right? Even though you're draining energy because you gotta warm your body back up 98 to 60 degrees. So I would say maybe a hot shower is more preferable, but it depends. Everybody's kind of different. But did you find with the routine that you get a healthy dose of sleep?
When I did the cold shower meditation, I also did stretches. I fell asleep fast. Well, not fast, but I just enjoy my sleep more
Gotcha.
than when I did
Gotcha.
which I don't do anymore. I wish I could do it.
Yeah, it's hard to go back to the routine, you know. But you know, once again, we'll talk about behavior at some point. We'll talk about how we can do approximative steps, tiny micro steps to change behaviors, eliminating things, adding things.
Because I realized cold showers now, I can't handle
Yeah, I'm a hot shower person. Okay, so listen, why is all this information important? Right? I want you to think about something. I think the information we're learning in this class is the most important. I think it's the most important thing because if you can honestly understand why your human body experiences what it experiences at every level, you go, I understand how I learn. You know, the brain creates neural connections like a branch in trees. And I know that the brain prunes the branches when I stop learning. Or it finds that information is not relevant anymore, it's not important. Right? If you can understand these systems that we're talking about, including these states of consciousness we're going to get into, like, it helps eliminate stress or manage it. Because then you start to understand why you think the way you think and why you respond to your own emotions the way that you respond. And therefore you're not controlled as much by the external world. So it's a superpower. Half of like therapy should be, it's not, you know, there's bad therapists out there, right? Half of therapy should be educating, psychoeducation people to show you how it all works, right? So that not just you're given a rule book, a playbook to play, but you actually have a tool to help yourself, right? Nothing more powerful than teach somebody how to help themselves, right? And the other part is, if you can understand yourself, you have a better understanding of other people, and you're not impulsive or responsive as you once were. It's another superpower. You can pick up on body language, and you can become an expert. Right? How many languages you speak? Well, one of them is body language. I see aggression, insecurity, thoughtfulness, anxiety, stress, lies, deception, manipulation. Another superpower. So, anyone here ever watch X-Men?
Yes.
I remember Professor X.
Yeah.
What was Professor X's superpower?
You can read people's minds and
Wolverine the Devil? Alright, so what I'm telling you is that this psychoeducation, understanding how it all works, is literally superpower. Right? This is superpower. In the sense that you can learn better if you know how to learn better. If you know how your mind works, right? You can start to think about how you learn and improve your own learning efficiency. You could understand many, many things. Okay, moving forward. Okay, we got other things. The need for sleep. Why do we need to sleep? Why do we need to sleep? What's the point? Okay, energy, like to conserve energy. Okay, to reset in what way? Reset in what?
Right.
What do you think we're
When you
resetting?
go to sleep, it's like in routine and stuff like that. Think about nothing. And stuff like that. And we wake up, I don't know, I don't think about the same thing after.
Alright, so you're like going into different mental states.
Yeah.
For the most part. So then, what are we gonna say?
I would say it helps you go faster.
Heal.
Yeah.
Okay, you're like, hey, you only have a limited amount of cell reproduction. So maybe if you're awake 100% of the time, maybe your life will be much, much shorter. Or maybe part of it is to extend life itself, right? Part of it, think about this. You sleep, well, most of us sleep, if we took everybody average 8 hours a day, right? Some of us sleep 4, 5, 9, 10. But 8 hours a day. So if it's 24 hours in a day, that means you are asleep 1/3 of your life. That's extremely why. Why? Right? One of the ideas is that once again, you're only picking up this narrow bit of information consciously because you're only paying attention up here. Right now, right? But there's a whole entire room that your body is aware of unconsciously and has to process that information. So it's critical to process memories, thinking, even emotional events you had that day. So if you get triggered, you got some form of trauma that day, your brain needs to process that in order to deeply get more insight to make sense of that. How relevant was that event? Is it important to my survival? What did I learn from that? Right? So things will be very symbolic or interpretive in that. Okay, yeah, we have cellular health, right? So it's good for our health. We need to process memories from the day. We need to process thoughts and feelings that we had from the day. And other things that we maybe didn't pick up consciously. So when you start analyzing people's dreams, and I'm like, where did that come from? Why is this happening in my dream? Like, most likely, you experienced that pain unconsciously. Now it's starting to creep up into the conscious mind during sleep, right? So that you can kind of make sense. It was important, and so there's some sense of importance. Okay, but we have some other things here. Hypersomnia. We have excessive daytime sleepiness arises even after a few hours of sleep. So some of us are hypersomniacs. We have a lot of daytime sleepiness, right? Even if we get a few hours of sleep loss. Right? We're always drowsy. Always drowsy. A day or more sleep deprivation can lead to difficulty staying alert. So we just said, if sleeping processes thoughts, feelings, emotions, and experiences, if you do not get proper sleep, those things will be merged and integrated in some chaotic, confused way. You won't be able to process like clear thoughts. You won't be clear-minded. Right? You might mix up memories that actually didn't happen. You might be extremely forgetful. Like, what was that word? Right? So it's extremely important that you get the good healthy dose, right? Because deprivation is not good. Some of us do micro sleeps where we sleep trying to catch up. Right? So think about this. We have sleep deficits. So you're like, well, Dr. Ross, on Monday I like 2 hours of sleep. On Tuesday I should have an extra 3 hours. On 4, you're like, you know that accumulates. And now you're at like 12, 24 hours worth of sleep deprivation, a deficit. Like you have a sleep debt. You owe your body 24 hours of sleep from that week, right? So you have to try to play catch up. And if you don't catch up, it becomes the same pattern of how you feel every day. Right? I feel cloudy, my mind is confused. Why? You haven't caught up to paying that sleeps, right? Micro sleep is like, maybe in the classroom you see people dozing off, right? They're like, oh, hey. Right? You're trying to get like an extra 30 seconds, a minute or two of sleep to catch up. Your body's trying to catch up to it, right? Okay, now remember we said we could measure the states of consciousness by brain wave activity. So right now your state of consciousness is awake. And we see those high activity, high energy wave patterns. Maybe if we start to look and slice down into categories, how do brain patterns shift once you start to get drowsy, you start to doze off. Are you really asleep after an hour of dozing off? At what point are you completely defined as sleep? Does the brain and the body separate from one another, like kind of disconnect in some way? We'll look at that. But once again, sleep deprivation is not good. Psychoses can happen, confusion, disorientation, not knowing where you are, like where am I? Right? You get lost, forget where things are, forget your car keys, forget these things. You become extremely disoriented, delusions, seeing things that are not there, hallucinating. Right? All because of sleep loss. Alright, so we got short sleepers. 5 hours or less. Who only needs 5 hours and they're good? You're good. 5 hours, you're good.
No.
You need more than 5?
Yes.
Who sleeps a very long time? You like to sleep more than 9 hours.
We don't eat it. That's what it's
Okay. So is that for when you think about it, like, well, is that a learned behavior? Is it a cultural thing? Is it a dietary thing? Is it just I just love to sleep and I'm happy to get in most sleep? What's your analysis on that? For those who like to sleep so much? Is it learned behavior, cultural, diet, or is it just love to sleep, or what is it?
What was the thing when you feel like, you know, like your body like just need a little bit of rest? That's why I say I feel like I'm short and wrong because like it's like I just need like 1 hour of sleep and I'll be good and I'll be back up and then energetic. But I do like to sleep a lot. And I'm like, I don't know why. It's just I just love to sleep.
Yeah, sometimes I love to sleep. Right. Some of us men like, hey, sleep is comfort. When we wake up, the world is discomfort. Let me go back to my comfort zone, my paradise, which is sleep. And then sleep patterns, right? Babies do micro sleeps. Babies take naps. Don't wait for baby. Babies taking a nap, right? So baby has different sleep patterns than say us, right? Let's say you didn't have ridiculous school schedule and all this work, you would probably have consistent sleep, right? Or you didn't have like a stressful job, probably have consistent sleep. And then older people kind of revert back to baby patterns of sleep. So older people take naps, right? So your grandparents might be like, we're taking a little afternoon nap for 2 hours, and then another nap for 6 hours, right? And the older people actually need less, right? They need less sleep. All right, remember we said we could hook up that EEG, look at the brainwave activity to see how amplified are the waves so we can record what state of wakefulness, what state of consciousness. So we have different waves that we can classify. So we say beta waves, alpha waves, delta waves. Right now you're beta wave, right? Beta wave. Hyperactivity in waves, pick up information quick. You're awake. When you hear the sound, close that. You must listen to the you can see TikTok, right? Beta waves. Alpha waves, right? Like, well, you start to fall asleep. And then the brainwave activity slows and gets smaller. Right? And you have delta waves, where we can look and see like, oh, that person's really wave activity is low. You know, like, what are they doing? Well, because you're not picking up that much external information anymore. And you become internal processing. So you may not hear who knocked on the door. You may not hear the cars outside. Right? You you're in alpha, like you're just falling asleep a little bit, you still remembering and hearing very clearly the TV, whatever you got playing on your phone, radio, right? You're still taking in more external information, but it doesn't allow you to process. Good. So you say the best sleep to be in is what we'll kind of see is deep sleep, right? And then REM sleep, which we'll talk about, rapid eye movement sleep. Because that allows you to process memories and thinking and feelings to make sense. Right? So think about it. If you're at a center in life, like, why am I so cranky? Why am I so impulsive? Why am I so reactive? Part of it's just not getting enough sleep. Right? You're not allowing emotions to be processed. You're not allowing thoughts to be completely processed. They're just on edge. Okay, so stage one, we say light sleep, right? Small irregular waves produced in light sleep. People may or may not say that they were asleep, right? So someone's just close their eyes for a couple seconds, but they're still talking to you. Like, hey man, remember that thing? Like, yeah, right? That's light sleep. Different brain activity, right? You might be processing a little bit of stuff that happened, but you're still very much listening to everything that's going on. And actually respond. You can actually probably even move, right? You're kind of like, oh, I heard the train conductor to get up. Oh, yeah, this my stop. Right? I mean, not this my stop. Like, okay, it was 90% awake, 10% asleep. Stage two, okay, but in stage one, we can have hip and jerk, right? A muscle twitch caused by muscle relaxation. What happens is, as we start to get to deeper sleeps, states of consciousness, our muscles tend to relax to the point we can't move anymore. The brain and the body disconnect. People experience paralysis. Right? Where they will wake up and can't move their body for a certain amount of time, right? 5 seconds, 10 seconds, depending on what's going on. So we know that as you kind of move into these different stages, your muscles become more relaxed, kind of less responsive to external things. All right, so you got a hip and jerk, right? Reflex muscle twitch caused by muscle relaxation. You go into a different state, and your muscles are starting to like jerk. Right? Your muscles are trying to go to sleep, but they're also like so used to external stuff to react to, just maybe experience a jerk. Stage two, deeper sleep, where we start to have these spindles, short bursts of distinctive brainwave activity that appear at the threshold of sleep. This is to say, like, once you go from one stage to the next of sleep, you may do something. Have a big yawn while you're sleeping, right? You may say something and then turn over and go back to sleep, right? Something kind of happens. There might be an activity there. You might start talking, right? What was that? Right? Something tends to happen. And they're kind of described them as spindles, which is interesting because if you close your eyes right now and look at either this light up here or outside light, you'll see like you got red. Well, no, you'll see something spinning. Yeah. You'll see little spindles, right? You can see them really go either directly looking at the sun. They're very obvious, right? And they move at different paces. Sometimes when you're fully awake, they go fast, and then you feel like slightly falling asleep. You like this, and there's light. Let's say you fell asleep in the sunlight. You're going to sleep, you see them start to slow.
They used to be at the pool.
Alright, stage three, we say delta waves, right? Very large and slow waves will start to slow down. Remember we said flat line in the hospital, somebody's brain dead, right? Or there's no. Stage four, deepest level of normal sleep, almost purely delta waves, which means you're processing more internal information than outside information. Right, so we have REM sleep, which we call rapid eye movement sleep. So REM sleep is completely different than these other stages, because in REM sleep, you are having dreams. focus. Right? Now you may have dreams slightly. Once you get to like stage 4, stage 3, right? And even stage 2, you're like, okay, you're starting to maybe see visions or something weird. But 3 and 4, you're like, no, I'm trying to have a full story that I can describe as a dream. Right? And when you have REM, you're having a dream, your body just connects with the brain in this connectivity. Yes.
What about lucid ones?
Which one?
What you said?
Yeah, you have kind of lucid, vivid dreams, right? You know, you can kind of describe those as dreams in 4K. You know what I mean? You're like, man, it's like hyper-realism type of dream. So, but think about it. So if you're in a dream, remember we said these other stages, you might be able to sleepwalk. You might be able to go to the kitchen, open up the door, make yourself a bowl of cereal,
I never seen nobody.
and still be technically asleep with brain activity, the brain wave activity. Here's different. The body and the brain is connected and can't move. Why would that be? Why the body and brain are disconnected when you start to have full dream, going to like a full dream state? What do you think that occurs? Think about it. If you live out your dreams, if you actually try to manifest your dreams while you're asleep, you probably kill yourself or others. No, but we're saying once you go into REM sleep, right? Rapid eye movement sleep. You go to your brother and sister when they're in a deep sleep snoring, you look at their eyelids, and their eyes are going back and forth fast. Like, what's going on? He's asleep unconscious. Why does he have so much activity? Well, he's awake, the same as we are now. He went back to stage 1. Brain damage. Why though? Because he needs to process everything he missed throughout that day. So he's actually living that dream mentally. But he better not act out the dream with his arms and legs and get up and do everything in the dream. Because he'll probably kill himself or kill all of us. He's falling from a building in a dream or being chased by a murderous person in a dream. You get what I'm saying? So it's there for your own protection. So you have body paralysis. So sometimes if you're in deep REM sleep and you're jolted and woke up, you might feel like somebody's on your chest and you can't move. Or you can't even scream. Right? So REM sleep is a different state. Right? We say REM sleep is a completely dream state. Right? It's a dream state. It may be one of the most important, and kind of one of the most misunderstood. But it's the most important because from there we can get information about someone that's really deep and insightful about someone. Unconscious information. Their true fear is something that happened in the past, trauma, something that they're feeling. Yeah.
If somebody out there was going outside,
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, wait, I'm confused about what it is. You had a dream. You was inside, you were outside? Was it a thunderstorm? Oh, it's not. Okay, but here, remember we said two approaches to life. Either you take a purely rational approach and you're like, oh, mathematics, arithmetic, logic, or you're like, hey, a lot of life is symbolic, right? What does a thunderstorm represent to you? It could be something deeply entrenched, like, man, I'm dreaming about a thunderstorm. They're like, what are you talking about? That never happened. But the thunderstorm has a narrative, a story, a representation, it has symbolism, right? So you can, you were talking to a therapist in a therapy session, like the thunderstorm dream was rather interesting. There's some symbolism, there's a story, there's a pattern, there's a theme. And that's what I don't know. You know, I mean, I wouldn't know unless you have a therapist.
All I thought was snowing, like it was nothing, not that bad, it was snowing. Was it snowing?
Yeah, it could be anything, right? It could be like it could be the fear of bad weather, anticipation of a snowstorm, because we had bad weather. It could be all sorts of, or it could be something even deeper than that. Well, on a side note, I kind of like talk about this with other clients, right? So, remember I said this importance, to me, in my opinion, the most important information. Like each week that we go through and understand a little bit more about us and how we work. Because we're living this life, but a lot of us don't understand how it truly works, right? Like the knowledge systems, perceptual systems, hormones, you know, emotions, like they don't understand. They feel them, they experience them, but they don't understand them. If you are to truly understand them, like I said, it's a superpower. You're able to control yourself and not be impacted by too much others, and you'll be able to understand other people, even if you disagree. Like I don't need to respond and react because I understand. Even if it's the worst thing possible you've ever heard of. You may say, that's interesting. I understand why. But if you don't have that understanding, you're reactive and impulsive to the world, right? The world kind of pulls you wherever it wants to pull. So, in a sense, I gotta talk about this in another class, like when it comes to college. What do you think is the real point of a college education? What's the real value? Because right, there's always argument, don't go to college. Look at Mark Zuckerberg, he became a billionaire and dropped out. You know, there's always the arguments, right? Don't go, who needs college? College ain't nothing, right? All the haterism of college, yes.
I feel like when people say college students together, when you look at like stuff that they spend on or something that you like, okay, so was that waste of money? Free, you know, like, you put your money, I feel like college is really hit or miss for people. And it
Can be.
can be hit or miss depending on how you manage your college experience.
Sure.
Because I feel like my personal opinion, college, I would say it's hard. I would say like, yeah, okay, I'm a little overwhelmed. But obviously, the campus is not like, oh my God, like I can't be handling it. And I feel like when some people are transitioning from college, from high school to college, it can be different because they were probably playing around when they're using ChatGPT in high school. Now when they get to college, you really gotta actually think about stuff, actually structure stuff, and actually listen to what the teacher's telling them. I need to be taught, this is my drop out. Where some people think, especially from the parent side, they like, no, it's waste of money, you don't get a degree in something that you don't get a degree in. In my opinion, don't go to school. First off, look up what you want to do in life. If you know that job don't make the money that you want it to make, if you know that job don't make six figures, then don't get a degree. If you know that job makes six figures and up, if that's something you want, then go for it. But also, it's still gonna take time to get that six figures. So it's really investing in yourself.
Yeah.
Someone told me that college is an investment. And how I view it is, yes, it is an investment. Do I just want to use my college degree? No, because I want another certificate or licensing in something else. So I can still have my degree, but I still want
Something else.
to take that back.
The true reason for college, right? The true maybe purpose is to train you how to think better. That's it. Any concept, definition, and papers you're writing, those are all fine. Lectures, those are fine. But the true reason is that life is full of challenges, problems of all kinds. Can you think better because of what you're learning deliberately? You're kind of forced to. You're forced to do the papers and stuff, right? If you didn't have to, you wouldn't do it. Sure. It's there to teach you how to think. You're not only gonna think better because of lectures, you're gonna think better by talking with others who have different interests, different backgrounds, right? So you probably learn more than from each other than you would from any other kind of classroom or anything like that. Because we say, once again, in psychology, those neurons, they're connected. So whoever got the biggest network of connections, that tree with the branches, whoever got the most branches can think the best. And then whoever got littler branches can't think that far. They don't have deep insight. And it's not to just keep this stuff static and say like, oh, it is what it is, these concepts like this. No, it's there for you to actually come up with interesting questions about it. No, what if we said this? What if we asked that? We take it to a new platform. Right? So taking what we already learned and taking it to the next step. But remember, college is about thinking better. And if a person never gets to the point where they can think better in college, they fail themselves. Right? All they did was get work, turn it in on time, blah, 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 blah. But they never thought of a way how to think better about anything, even including themselves. Right? Remember I said that's a superpower. Psychology to me is most important because if you can understand yourself to like the greatest depth and degree, it's like the greatest superpower you have. Right? Because most of us are still kind of confused on why it all happens in the first place, right? And how it happens. Okay, and then remember the second part. We say, hey, things are representative in a book. Most things are symbolic, right? There's only like 12 stories you can tell in life. So if you ever watch a TV show or a movie, guess what? You watch like one of the 12 stories. So when someone says, man, there's a new cool show out and it's different, I'm like, okay, I can see different characters, different whatever, but it's the same story, right? The hero myth, somebody came from the bottom, all these things, right? So pay attention to those patterns, to their patterns of symbols and representation. Okay, that's my little tangent. Okay, now back to this. We got two we say we don't completely understand sleep in theories, hypotheses, schools of thought, right? So two basic states of sleep are non-REM, we sit there REM, rapid eye movement, and non-REM. Non-REM is those 4 stages with different brainwave patterns, right? We say dual process hypotheses. REM and non-REM sleep help refresh. We heard refresh, right? Refresh your brain and store memories, right? That's kind of the hypothesis of how sleep occurs. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 90% of non-REM sleep is dream-free. So you do still have dreams when you're in stage 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's just maybe a partial dream, right? It's maybe about 100% of a dream. But you get the whole story in REM sleep when it comes to dreams. All right, now back to REM sleep. We say sleep is very light in REM sleep, right? It's very light because remember you're still awake. You can see the person's eyes moving fast, even though it appears to be sleeping, right? It's very light. It returns back to stage 1 for those wave patterns in the brain. The body is very still, right? Muscle paralysis, right? People who don't have the muscle paralysis, they have the disorder. Muscle paralysis is normal during REM sleep, right? But if you don't have it, that's bad because say we have a disorder where you don't get that muscle paralysis, and now you're like pulling your arms while you're sleeping, kicking, screaming, talking, you're living out your dream. And everybody can see it. And you're still in a different state of consciousness. Okay, so here's a question. Right? Like, hey, you stop breathing and you like wake yourself up. What would we call that?
Not a seizure.
Not a seizure. What would we call that? If someone stops breathing during sleep and jerks themselves awake.
Wait,
So yeah, CPAP machine. We're like, hey, when you have sleep apnea, either you have a bunch of fatty deposits in your throat, or your throat, the palate kind of collapses when you sleep. It lowers and it restricts your airway, right? And then sometimes they touch. When they touch, no air, no oxygen in the blood that can cause extreme issues, right? Like stroke and all that stuff. So immediately you have a response. You jerk it, right? So like the person snoring, because you're like, snoring is that. Snoring is a restriction in the airway. That's why you hear the reverberation of sound, right? So you're like, the person goes to sleep and their throat relaxes. Relaxes, hopefully not to the point where part can touch. But then restrict completely. But you're snoring because you restricted some of the airway, and now the sound went, way to the airflow. And then there's another one, like, so that's one form of sleep apnea. There's a second one where it's more neurological. The signal's not being sent to the muscles, and the muscles do expand and contract. So that's kind of, I would say that one is maybe worse. Right? That's more of a neurotransmitter issue. As opposed to just saying get a CPAP machine, or sometimes we get a procedure or surgery, or something, right? Or maybe it's their diet. Okay, so we say, hey, in REM sleep, we return back to stage one. Body is very still, muscle paralysis happens. REM sleep appears to sharpen our memories of the previous day's more important experiences. Basically, simple way to say, dreams are important. Dreams contain very sharp information that you should process. If you don't get proper sleep, you don't get REM sleep. You never go into REM stage. You stay in stage one, stage two, where you're slightly awake half the time, partially awake, you get a little bit of a dream, but not full sleep. Right? So pay attention to your sleep patterns. If not, you're not going to be able to sharpen your memories, and that's going to impact your thinking and your emotions, moving forward. Okay, and then lastly, before we get out here, right? We talked about sleep disturbances, right? Sleepwalking, sleep talking. There's things called sleep sex, where people engage in sexual activity while they're sleeping.
What the heck?
Yeah, they have no memory of it. But we say when you change the states of consciousness, you impact memory. So you will have no recollection.
Wait.
Tends to happen, I think, more than the females, but we'll talk about it, right? Alright, but here's one thing, insomnia, difficulty in getting sleep, frequent nighttime awakenings, waking too early. Caffeine is not good, so don't drink coffee late at night, right? Remember we said coffee blocks things. One of the things that blocks is serotonin. So coffee, you feel alert and awake, a more hyper state of consciousness, a more version of awake, simply because you blocked serotonin hormones, right? And serotonin is necessary for you to feel drowsy, go to sleep, and all these things, right? Temporary insomnia, brief period of sleeplessness caused by worry. We heard it here, right? Man, I can't go to sleep. My sleep sucks temporarily for short bursts. I keep going to sleep, and I wake up. Go to sleep, wake up. Why? You're worried about something. You're stressed out about something. Or you're excited, right? Excited is not good too.
Why being excited not good?
But what I'm saying is, too much excitement kind of tells the mind that you're still very much awake, right? And it blocks serotonin levels as well too. So too much excitement is like, hey, you got a new job, you start tomorrow, so you're anticipating like, oh, what's my job, right? You want $1 million, looking forward to spending it, right? You met somebody, and now you're gonna want a boyfriend, girlfriend, all sort of exciting things. Can impact sleep, right? I'm not saying that it's negative to have these things, but just kind of keep that in mind. Relax yourself. Just basically say chill out, right? Don't over excite yourself. But since avoid fighting it, get up and do something satisfying. Return to bed when struggling to stay awake, right? These are kind of some considerations that we should take. something, right? A lot of us experience sleep disturbances, but we couldn't describe it as chronic, right? It's not a real kind of issue, unless it goes more than 3 weeks, right? Meaning that you can't really get any sleep to where you can't function very well. Like your grades start to suffer, you're cranky, your memory sucks, all of it. Then you have an issue. The CIA, so the CIA, when it decides to say torture terrorists, what do you think is the most effective way to torture somebody if you want to get information from them?
I got a question. What's the little thing where when you fall asleep, you end up like jumping, like as you fall asleep? It's like when you know something, you had a little jumping.
Yeah, we can say a hypnic jerk.
That's what it is.
It's a reflex.
It's crazy. I you feel like I'm falling and I end up jumping.
Yeah, because remember said each stage of sleep, the deeper you get into sleep, the more the muscles want to relax. And sometimes when it's transitioning from one stage to the next, there's a jerk.
I showed you about my mom.
You know how to train, I don't know if you had to do that, I had to train from running man.
Yeah, it's not like you never are, right? It's like you're running on a treadmill or something, right? Yeah. And that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting in therapy because, you know, some people may analyze that as you're in fear of something catching up to you. That's very important,
You
right?
becoming so like, yeah, and they be right next to you.
But the most effective torture technique to extract information, say from like a terrorist, Sarah uses what? Sleep deprivation. We just said that hey, if you don't get enough sleep, you become delusional, psychotic. You can't consciously remember things, right? And remember we say at some point the unconscious mind takes over. Unconscious mind is automatic. It don't need you. It contains the truth. Right? Lies need to think to make up the story. So, with sleep deprivation, at like 4 days, anything past 4 days, your mind starts to like shut down. Right? And that unconscious mind takes over. So what they'll do is usually have loud noises for like 4 days straight, heavy metal sounds. Put you in an all bright room, completely white, and then maybe by like day 4, they could come ask you something, and they can get real answers, the truth. Right? So you're like, that's how powerful sleep is, or the lack of sleep, to the human mind. Right? So keep that in mind. The less sleep you get, the more you're actually torturing yourself. Sleeping pills, not necessarily good. Sometimes they exacerbate and you become dependent on them. Right? So sometimes they actually make you, because they influence serotonin levels, right? They kind of throw things off. So sometimes they have the opposite effect. They keep you awake. Right? Just like with people with caffeine, think about it. Potentially, like, anyone here drink caffeine and caffeine makes you sleepy? Right? You're like, hey, depending on one's body chemistry and other things, it may have opposite effect, right? Not all of our brains have the same chemical composition. It's how much both pushes out. Right? So be careful with that with sleeping pills, right? You become dependent, drug dependent, insomnia, follow withdrawals from sleep. Remember we said anything that considered like a substance, like an outside drug substance, will impact states of consciousness. You see it with the diabetic people. So when you take cocaine or alcohol, you're awake, even though mentally you're somewhere else. Right? But your body's hyper awake. Right? So those who may have tried cocaine or whatever, you're like, they can't sleep for 3 days. Right? And it impacts sleep cycle. So consider that, because we say, hey, these are states of consciousness or mental states. So when you're engaging with somebody, pay attention back then. I wonder if this person's in a very bad mental state. Maybe they're in a different zone right now than what they would usually be for some reason, for some consideration. All right, that is it for today. Remember, exam one is live now. It's up now.